What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Wednesday wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
This episode is brought to you by All County Exteriors. All County Exteriors is a third-generation, premier exterior home remodeling company celebrating over 40 years in business. In a remodeling world where the average remodeling company only survives in business for only 5 years, All County Exteriors has stood the test of time, providing their customers with top-quality roofing, siding, windows, and doors. They service homeowners and builders with anything from small repairs to large additions. All County Exteriors is not just limited to construction. They have a deep passion for giving back to their community and are charitable supporters of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the American Cancer Society, Roofs for Troops, and Parents of Autistic Children. If you have planned to do any exterior remodeling, call the experts at All County Exteriors for a free, no-obligation estimate for your project. Just call 732-370-2780 or email them at info@allcountyonline.com. That's 732-370-2780 for All County Exteriors for all your remodeling needs.
You sound wonderful.
This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Kulot.
What's up, Drop Pod people? How are you doing this week? I am super excited for this episode. It has been, I think, a year in the making. But before we go any further, gotta wish you a happy birthday, Mike. Congrats, you made it.
Much appreciate it.
Another year.
Much appreciate it.
Mike and I are recording this a few days ago, so if you're hearing this for the first time on Wednesday, you're a few days late, but certainly feel free to reach out and wish Mike happiest of birthdays. So happy birthday, bud. All right, so today's episode, I think, is going to be an absolutely phenomenal episode. We are talking about all the places we've played this year. The scoring season ended in New Jersey. We were fortunate enough all year to play some absolutely awesome places. So today we're going to give you our countdown of those places. We're going to go through our ratings of those places, kind of chop up basically our whole year here and the year we had on the golf course, and kind of give you our point of view on some of the top courses that we played. And then you have to stick around because we have Stephen Hennessey as today's guest. Who? Mike, I'm glad you asked, because Stephen Hennessey is the managing editor for Golf Digest. He's also a writer. He writes for the magazine, he writes for the website and all their digital platforms. And he's got a bunch of really good articles out there. If you go to golfdigest.com, he's got some really good stuff out there. But he, along with Derek Duncan, are the ones that write the Golf Digest article, The Best Golf Courses in New Jersey. That came out on July 13th. Every year, Golf Digest comes out with their list. And that's kind of the penultimate list when anyone's looking at the best golf courses in New Jersey or there's some kind of debate or whatever. That's the list everyone goes to for arguments, discussions, all that kind of stuff. So we have Stephen on today, and we're going to talk to him about the list, the process, how it works, maybe even do some light grilling of some of our questions for him on what he deemed as top courses in New Jersey, and maybe Mike and I agree or disagree. So we're going to have him on and kind of have a talk about New Jersey's top courses. So we have a very heavy New Jersey golf course episode. So make sure you stick around and give it a listen. You're not going to want to miss this episode. All right, Mike. How do you want to start? I know we both have our lists. I know we both got our ideas.
I think you lead the way.
Okay.
I'll just follow suit.
So I have been rating the courses we've played all year. I know that kind of behind the scenes, I've been doing that. I've going back to last year, we came up with this rating system, and I've been going with it. I've been adding notes to it, and we'll have to figure out a good way to distill that information on the courses out to the public. But in going through that list, when we talked to Chris Dibbick, he said that the course rating may not necessarily match up with your favorite courses, right? Or like the best course. So I think that might hold true a little bit here in some of our rankings, I would think. The other caveat that I want to bring up before we get started with this, I didn't put any of the golf courses from my trip to Ireland. Only stayed with New Jersey golf courses since that's what we're talking. I also broke them up into public and private. I think that's also needed to do because I think, especially what we found, that even the best public course in the state is probably not in our top 5 of courses we played because there are so many great private tracks in the state. So I think we break it up that way. So that's just kind of a couple caveats that I wanted to start with there. How's that sound?
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So let's start. You want to start public or private?
Let's go public.
Okay. I have 7 for my top 5. There are 2 that I wanted.
7 for your top 5.
I knew you'd hate that. I knew that you would hate that.
Time out. This is the thing. This is the generation that we live in where everybody gets a trophy. Like, listen, we understand that difficult decisions need to be made. You have to give me 5. It's your top 5.
I will.
That means 6 and 7 are outside the top 5.
Correct. They're honorable mentions.
But we can't say everything is number 1.
Correct.
Okay.
So
your top 5.
As I was putting these together, so let me tell you my process. Here's what I did, Mike. I took all the golf courses that we played and I put them on a list. And then from that list, I started moving them around. And I was like, okay, I like this one better than this one. And I started moving them. And it's not like we played 600 courses this year. So, and when you break it up into public and private, I think it was pretty easy to do as far as how many different ones that we played. So my number 1 public course was Riverwinds. I absolutely loved it there. I really, really did. It was a beautiful, well-manicured. It was a great course. I had no qualms or problems with it at all. It was great. It really was. I will say this, that I think my number 2 course could surpass it in the future because of the conditions I played the number 2 course in. You got to guess at what number 2 is?
Based on previous conversation, that's Ballamore.
That is Ballamore. And I think just because it was late fall, right before the season ended, I had leaves everywhere. It had taken nothing away from the course. I thought about going 1 and 1A, 1B, but I knew you'd hate that. So I give Riverwinds just a tick over Ballamore. And again, not necessarily a knock on Ballamore, just Riverwinds was in perfect conditions when I played it. My number 3 is Rock Spring. Really loved Rock Spring. Why I have it 3 is I don't, and Mike, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, and even if I'm wrong, I don't think I move it up to 2. It wasn't very long, and we played the tips. So I don't know, it had something about that feeling. Playing Ballamore from 7,100 yards had a bigger feeling than playing Rock Springs from 65 or 64 or for whatever it was, like tipping it out. Yeah. So that was the only knock I really had on Rock Springs. Phenomenal track. I absolutely love it. It's, again, not knocking it. It's just when you got to make the tough decisions. That's my 3rd. My 4th is Shoregate, down south there. I really had a nice time down there. I thought that course, same thing. You can tip that out to make it an absolute bear. And that's when it's going on all cylinders, when you're playing from the tips, it's far back, and they're putting the pins in tough locations, like for a tournament, that course can be one of the biggest public tests in the state, I would say. That was a really good golf course. I really enjoyed Shoregate. And then my number 5 is righty layup, I would say. It's just the righty layup. Hominy Hill. You can't go wrong with the Trent Jones course. It's local to me. It has the nostalgia, sure. I hope that's, I try not to put that in. But that golf course, when it's in good shape, it is prime. It really is. So those are my top 5. And then, like I said, the ones that made the cutting floor, 6 and 7, as you said, that they're not top 5. I'd like to point it out, but I did want to get your blood boiling a little bit before we started. Black Bear and Charleston. Again, I love Charleston. We had an awesome time at Black Bear. Those were honorable mention for the top 5 that I was like, could I put them in? So that's my top 5 public.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a solid list. I mean, listen, it's hard to argue against any of those. I mean, I think back to all the spots that you said and think about each golf course specifically, and they're all good. They all are. And I think that's another reason why I've said this on so many different occasions, on so many different podcasts, that this golf here in New Jersey is simply the best. I mean, you just named, in my opinion, 5 phenomenal golf courses that are public, that anybody can go play, and it ranges. You want to go north, you want to go south, you want to go east, you want to go west. You just gave 5 in all different geographic areas of the state.
Yeah.
So good, hard to argue at any of them. And again, like a lot of things in terms of, quote, favorites, everybody's eye test is different. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people play well, and that justifies they like it. Some people don't play well, and now all of a sudden they hate it. So, I totally get your 5 because I think they're all good. And I like the fact that we're sticking to this year specifically rather than kind of like an all-time list. Because when I started looking at mine, I was like, uh-oh, I could be in trouble, because I actually took a peek and saw that I posted 30 scores. Okay, I posted 30 rounds of golf. Now, some were combinations of 9-hole spots here and there.
So I took those out. The ones that when you and I get to go out and play 9 holes and it combines those, I didn't put those holes in. I didn't put those rounds in, I should say. So more so when we get to the private side, I took those out.
Right. So with you saying that, I actually counted of the 30 posted scores that I have. If you take out the combinations with the 9s, I only have played 9 public golf courses. And I know that sounds like a little bougie in a sense of like, oh, wow, you only play the privates. But like, I that's where I played this year. And it's hard to say like,
well, like you said, we got fortunate enough to play a ton of great places. The posting season is, April to November. You got family, we got work outside of this. That's not.
I got my list, and I know it's not as broad in a sense, and it may be very similar to yours in a lot of ways.
Hold up, Mike. Can we caveat this? I'm going to cut you off, and maybe we should have put this before, but let's at least say it now. Mike and I have not talked about our lists yet.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
We've may have hinted about, like, it's been on the podcast how much I love a certain place or Mike loves a certain place. But neither Mike nor I, in leading up to this episode, have said officially, hey, this is my list. What do you got? So we're both giving it to each other here for the first time. As far as our list go.
So
now, without further ado.
So here's my list. I'll go from 5 to my number 1. And I mean, my number 5, and again, I know it may get scrutinized to some extent, but my number 5 was Black Bear. And I know that's kind of, may not be high on many people's lists, but when I go back and I look at the publics that I played, Black Bear just had some different thing to it that I haven't seen often. The ups, the downs, The views, the mountains, like
You loved that par three with the mountain there.
Yeah, there was just so many different things I liked about it. Even that 12th hole when you like kind of went down like a chute, like you're hitting a tee shot out of this little like, I don't know, it felt like a rocket ship, and then it just dived straight down. Or even your Ryan versus the par five that just felt like I was climbing a mountain the entire time uphill.
Right.
So like those things to me are aesthetically pleasing, and that's something that drew me to Black Bear being number 5. Number 4 for me was Riverwinds.
I think that's fair because I had it at 6.
Yeah.
You got it at 5. I think it's a
I
good
have
spot
Riverwinds at 4, similar to you, dude. I thought that stretch along the Delaware River there was so good. I want to say it was like 15, 16, 17, or 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever it was. That little stretch there.
Yeah, I actually like going one further back. 17's the par 3, that little island green there. So if you go backwards to that short par 4, 16, and then
15.
I like 15 and 14. I like going, which I know 14's a little more inland, but yeah, that was a really good golf hole.
A really good stretch.
I would agree. That stretch there is a great stretch
that
of
stood out big time to me. Like I really, really liked that stretch. Number 3, I went Rock Spring. Again, it was just kind of like the aura, I think, of finally getting to that spot that so many people had said so many positive things. The guy that we were out there playing with was a really good dude. I wish I remembered his name, but I don't. Such a nice guy, kind of showing us the ins and outs of that place. Yeah, and
when you think of Rock Springs, what holes do you think
of number 3, the par 3 that goes straight, like right up the hill. Like that hole right off the bat to me sticks out just like bam. Like here it is. I don't know why, and there's really nothing to it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I just remember the tee shot, the background, a long green, the bunker in front.
With the quarry or like the quarry or whatever it is to the left.
It was just great golf again hole. For me that just stood out. I liked how you had to go across the street to 4 and 5. Kind of thought that was cool. Had like the old school fence, that you saw neighbors growing up back in the day always had around their property. So to me, Rock Spring, I put 3. And then for me, like
when I think Rock Spring, I think the back more so. I think the back has a lot more, like the holes that I think of. I think 1 and 2 were like kind of gimmicky holes. 3 was a great golf hole. 4 and 5 almost were like, we need to put some more holes because we got to get to 18. And then really once you got to 6, I felt like we were in like the meat of the course, if you know what I'm saying, right? So 6 is that par 3 that's got like the sombrero green kind of thing. But yeah, I would agree with you. 3 was beautiful, but Rock Springs, I wonder if we got to play there again, if it goes up more. Because you know how the first time you're playing a course, you're still trying to figure it out, or you're still like seeing what the course is about?
Yep.
I wonder if if we were to go back there and play it, if we were like, okay, this course is better than I originally thought.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, listen, I thought it was really good. I did. I don't even know how else, any other words.
Yeah.
I mean, then for me, I think my numbers 1 and 2 are just pretty standard in terms of all the things that I've said on repeat here. I went Ballamore 2, and Scotland Run was my 1. I mean, I still think Scotland Run is so damn pure. I know people talk about Neshannock. I know people talk about Ballyowen. I know people talk about different, hominy like yourself. But to me, like Scotland Run has it all. It truly does. Like I don't know. Every time I play there, and again, it's only been maybe like 5 times in my life that I've played there, but I've never had a bad experience with anybody, from the people in the pro shop to the people that you're taking your clubs out of your car, to the golf course, to everything about it. It's just so damn good. And I think having the little airplane there in the sand on 17 is just like, it's just a great little thing. And I just think that to me is Scotland Run, and that's why As of 2023, that is my number one public golf course in New Jersey. That I've played.
So I should have put this caveat in before as well, because I know Neshannock is on everybody's list and everybody talks about it. And I did play it this year, and it's not on my list because of the format I played it. I played it in like an outing. So I felt like that, I felt like that, not that it takes away, but it's not like I played it as like a round of golf. I played it as like an outing round of golf. So I took that out as well. And I did the same with one track on the private side as well. We played a private track together, and I didn't put that in there. And again, I think it would be in there had it not been in an outing format. But when we get to
I think that makes sense. I think how you play it is definitely it takes either something away or makes it better in terms of like what you're doing. Like if I'm a big advocate of I want to play my own ball. So like I want to play my own ball so I can get a true sense of the golf course. If we're playing a scramble and I'm constantly hitting the best shot, yeah, it's like if it was my own best shot, then maybe that's a different story. Right. But if I hit one in the woods, I got to kind of own up to that and hit that out.
2 for you, just with how you've talked about it on the pod so often. So nothing wrong with that list. Again, I think some crossovers there. Only playing 9 courses is obviously you're only putting 4 on the cutting room floor, and we could have had a good idea with what you were going with.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, listen, Shoregate could have been on that list at 6.
Right, but in the words of the great Don LaGreca, who you taking off?
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of the 5 I went with. And I guess if Shoregate would have been a 6, but.
All right, let's keep it going here. Let's roll into our top private tracks. Now, I didn't actually look at the numbers. I guess I could take a second and do some quick math here if I pulled up my Gin app. But we did play more private golf courses this year than we did public. And we really were super fortunate with people who either had invited us or connections that we had made or guys that came up and we did interviews with. I mean, we really... It's ironic that it was Thanksgiving weekend that we're doing this. I could not have been more thankful to people that as I was putting this list together, I was like, oh, that guy's such a great guy. I'm super thankful for him. And this guy, that was tremendous. Like, what a great time we had. So really, I hope you guys all listening know how thankful we are for you guys either having us there, inviting us, letting us play, whatever the case is. But here, again, some difficult decisions had to be made. You want me to start? Or you want to start?
Let's keep it going. You start it again, and then we can just go from there.
Okay.
I'm kind of I think I know your number 1, okay? But I'm dying to hear 2 through 5 because I think...
People who haven't been listening to the podcast know my number 1.
Yeah, I know. At this point, I think all of New Jersey knows your number 1. But I am curious, really, your 2 through 4, because I guess not to spoil it, but are you going in order 1 through 5?
I like that you went 5 through 1, so I was going to go that, but I can go the other way.
That's fine. I figured your number 1 has to be North Jersey, right? Right. 100%. So I figured, all right, we know number 1.
And we know you're number 1 as well, so...
Yeah, I think mine are probably very easy to guess, but let's hear it. So let's go in your order. Go for it.
So you want me to go top to bottom?
Yeah, go top to bottom.
1 through 5?
We all know number 1.
Okay. North Jersey, again, I don't know. Like I said there, I hope it's not recency bias. I'm trying not to have it be. I loved that layout. I thought it was the best manicured course that we played all year. I thought it was the company we had, the people that we met there were unbelievable people. Having Brian and James and Brian allow us out there, talking to them, genuine, wholesome. The experience of playing with those guys and again meeting some of the members there, that experience there was second to none. And I took that out of it in trying to rate the golf course. I thought that golf course was spectacular. I love what they're doing to the 10th hole. If you've been following James on Instagram or North Jersey Country Club, the 10th hole is getting kind of widened out, and they're making it a par 5. It's amazing to see the work they're doing. They just dug out a bunker, filled it in with grass, kind of making it a big dog leg. It's going to be great, and I think there's all the updates they've had. It was spectacular. The clubhouse being old, I can't say enough good things about it. I loved that place with a lot of my heart. I thought it was amazing. Number 2, Union League. Now, as we said when we got Union League, I was shocked that you got it. I didn't think that was even in the realm of possibility. For its aura, for its, the pictures you see, it's like, wow, that's like an untouchable, like, oh, it's like, it'd be like getting a hookup with a model. You see them in commercials and in magazines, and you're like, oh, that would be untouchable. And then then you go out, you meet her at the bar, and you have a good time. Like, that's what that was. It was incredible to play that place, to see all the work they did, to hear that they moved so much earth to make that course. It really, you don't think you're in New Jersey when you're there, other than seeing all the pine trees. It was an incredible track, and we didn't even play the best 9 there. So I'm looking forward to getting to play that 9 at some point. But yeah, that was a special place. I think you'll like number 3.
Manasquan River.
Yes, it was. Again, trying to take out the aura. I tried focusing just on the golf course, right? This is what we're supposed to be rating, is the golf course itself. But I'd be remiss if I didn't at least talk about how good to us Chris has been. And I said this when we interviewed him. I had met Chris twice or 3 times before we started this podcast. And the first time we had him on, he talked to me like we were family. And it shows the kind of people that are around Manasquan, that they treat you like family. We got to play with and meet some of the members there, and then go into the amateur there. It was just, it's a special place as far as all the people go. Taking that away and looking at the golf course, I love that it's 2 very distinct 9s. It really makes you feel like you're playing 2 different golf courses. You have that linksy kind of 9 along the water. You got the hills and the woods on the other side, on the front, and it's mentally different to kind of get and get around the golf course. It's like, I got to think about, okay, I got trees here, I got this here, I got that here, and then you get into the links style, and it's like, okay, what's the wind doing? And it's testing your mental fortitude for 18 holes in a multitude of different ways. While also, you're hitting every club in the bag. You're hitting irons off tees. You're hitting, you got to go short and then go long, or you got risk rewards here. It's a tremendous layout, and it was in pristine condition. The updates to the halfway house, I love that halfway house and where it's located. You can't beat the views along the water. It was tremendous. Manasquan was a special place, and like I said when we played it, I hate giving you props, but I got to give you props. That place was special. Staying in, I guess, kind of in South Jersey there, Galloway was my number 4. Galloway's number 7 on the New Jersey top 20 list. That's been one that, like, you hear there's an aura about. It's been a lot longer than Union League. You got views of Atlantic City. You got some water views. It was spectacular. That place that I got to play, and again, how I got to play it was amazing. The course was pristine. I mean, there wasn't one piece of grass out of place. I totally could see what you were saying when you played it, with like people were up on the deck watching you hit your shots onto the green on 18. That would be a spot that I could really, really enjoy and do some damage. But that place was absolutely beautiful. And again, something you don't always see is like the view of the skyline of Atlantic City.
Yeah, I love Galloway. I could play that course every single day.
Yeah. And then my number 5, I did a lot of thinking on. This was the one that took me the longest out of any of them, not just the public or the private. Like, out of any of the decisions I had to make, this one was the longest. I really loved Essex Fells.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought that place was in such good condition. I loved the layout of it. You know how much I love like the stonework and like things leading up to ponds. I thought it was absolutely beautiful there. I loved Essex Fells. And to your point, you just said you could play Galloway. I feel like I could play Essex Fells a ton throughout the summer. Like, that's a place where I'd be, if I was playing there 3 times a week, I'd be totally fine with it. I absolutely loved it there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did not see that one coming.
That I thought would throw you for a loop.
Yeah, I don't know where I would have guessed, to be honest with you. I maybe guessed like Deal. Maybe I thought maybe Deal would sneak into your top 5. I did not see Essex Fells, not one bit. But, I mean, listen, when I think back to that day with Gaffney out there, you did putt lights out, the best I've ever seen you putt. And I guess if you're trying to think about like positive memories about a place on top of the golf course, like you got good vibes flowing there.
Yeah.
In front of Gaffney.
Yeah. So yeah, that place, I like I said, the other ones, I do also have a 6 and 7 that would have made it. I mentioned not putting a course on there because of the format we played, but you and I played Upper Montclair in an outing, and if we didn't play that in the outing, I think that's a for sure top 5 for me. I had a lot. That place is really mint, but again, without putting it, with the format we played, I had to stay consistent. I put it on there. I do also have Deal and Arcola on here because you know how much I enjoy Deal. And Arcola is Arcola. So, but those are my first 3 left out of the tournament this year.
It's a good list. I mean, when you think back to the golf courses you played, I mean, how good are all those spots? I mean, you just named probably
Mike,
12, and every one is so damn good.
It's incredible. I started with like how thankful I was when I looked at. I had my ratings sheet up, the Google sheet that we use, and I had my Gin app up, and I was looking through, and I was like, oh, we played that place? Like, legitimately, when I was putting the list together, I had forgotten about Essex Fells.
Yeah, it's so good.
And then it was like, oh, I got to think about that. And then I thought on it. It was really, we really were very fortunate. And that's also not including Little Mill because we played it in November with Troy. We didn't play it in 2023. We played it in 2022. So yeah, I mean, we were really, really fortunate, man. We really were. So doing that over Thanksgiving weekend here, it was really, there was a lot to be thankful for a lot of reasons, but when you look at like this podcast and the courses we played specifically, truly a lot to be thankful for.
I mean, I think my list is different, but it is similar. There are spots that that I duplicate off of you, and I'll give it to you. And I think, like you said, I mean, every one is unique in its own little way, and so many of them are so good that it's really hard to say like that's really 6 or 7 or number 15, because if you were invited me to there, I'd go back and play it in a heartbeat. Like Essex Fells is not on my list at all. It wasn't even on my radar, but if you said you want to go play Essex Fells, I'd say let's go. So it's not like to me I would turn down these spots. So when you're ranking the private side, it's so damn hard. But for me, at number 5, I went Arcola. I heard all the hype going into that place, and I just thought when you pulled into that parking lot, and I got there so damn early because I knew people said you got to see the skyline, and if you can get there when the sun is rising, like, it's going to be amazing. And when the sun was coming out, I was like, oh my God. Like, you saw the city in the distance. You saw the skyline. It was like unreal. Then on top of it, the greens, as everybody said, were like lightning. And no offense, I shot 89 that day. That golf course beat the shit out of me. But I was like, damn, this place is really good. And like you and I said after that episode, if we were able to play there again when they weren't aerating the fairways, I think it would have an even higher ranking, because aesthetically, I think it has the makeup to be that. And I do.
100%.
And like you said a lot too, like in terms of like learning the golf course, like a second time around, you get a little more comfortable with where you can hit it, where you can miss it. Here's how you want to chip this, so on and so forth. So to me, I put Arcola 5. Number 4, I went Galloway. I absolutely love, like you said, I absolutely love Galloway. I don't know if there's really a bad thing to say about Galloway. Nonetheless, I love how close it is to my house. Like, to me, that spot, there's so many holes there that we could sit here and just say, that's the best one. No, this is the best one. No, this is the best one. They're just like, any of them, from your second shot into the first hole with the Atlantic City skyline in the distance, or the second hole's tee shot, or the 17th hole's tee shot, or the 18th hole second shot. Like, we could go on so many different shots on Galloway specifically. So to me, like you, I got it number 4. Number 3, I got Union League. I do wish that we got to play the Sherman 9. I do, because that's where all the hype was really around. But I can also see why guys like, Evan Schiller, when you're taking your pictures, that Meade 9 legitimately has every postage stamp that you could want for a picture. It's just to die for. And I mean, even to this day, that carousel post that I made of Union League still continues to cycle through with people loving every single one of those pictures. So to me, I got Union League number 3. And then I just kind of held my ground in 1 and 2, and I put number 2, I had Manasquan River, and number 1 was Pine Valley. I mean, I don't know if I could ever put into words what that place was like. If you want to talk about like an aura, like that place had it. And I think as athletes and as, people that have played sports their whole lives, like we know some people have it and some places have it. We just don't know how to define it. Pine Valley had it.
Tough to argue with any of those, Mike. Like I said, I thought number 1 was an obvious one for you. I was pretty sure you were going to go Manasquan number 2, just because of how much you love it. And as I said, it is an absolutely special place. So yeah, like you said, some overlap, but some different ones there. I would also, you mentioned this with Arcola, I would love to get a second shot at it. Not, which is the stupidest thing ever said, right? But like, just because I would obviously love to play a great course again. Taking that away, there was a bunch of times where I hit bad shots, right? Like my Ryan Verse, I top my drive and it goes like 20 yards in front of the tee box, right? That's a bad shot. That's not the course's fault, right? That's not me not knowing the course. But there were a couple times where like I hit a shot and I was like, I hit that pretty good, and I hit it on the line that I thought I wanted to hit it, and it was just, the green wasn't there. There was a little more, hit it a little too far and it rolled off or whatever it was. It was just knowing the course now, or having seen the course now, I would hit some shots differently. And I'm not talking about like poorly executed shots, which obviously I have during a round. I just mean shots that I now know what to expect out of the shot, I guess is more what I'm saying.
I totally get that.
All right, guys. So that is our list, right? Mike and I have got we got our top 5 public and private for you. Let us know your thoughts. But as I've said, we've kind of been talking about it throughout the whole year. As you said, Mike, I'm talking to anybody and everybody about North Jersey. It's how much I love that place. So that was an obvious one for me. Again, Pine Valley for you was an obvious as well. So I hope you guys like the list. Again, let us know what you thought of it. But we're going to kind of keep this rolling, and we're going to send you right now to the interview we did with Stephen Hennessey. Stephen is the deputy managing editor of Golf Digest. He's the guy that wrote the article on in Golf Digest about the top 25 courses in New Jersey. So he gives some great insight about the process, how it works, stuff that blew my mind. I had no idea that's how things worked in that system. So you got to stick around. He does a great job explaining it. We're talking about different courses, some that should be on there, shouldn't be on there. So we're going to keep New Jersey courses coming at you here with our interview with Stephen. But before we send you to our interview with Stephen, make sure you go over to wherever you listen to podcasts, like, subscribe, all of our stuff. Follow us on Instagram, @thedrop_pod. Twitter, the same thing. Go follow our YouTube channel. You don't know how much that helps us if you give us that 5-star rating, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. It really helps us out. Here's our interview with Stephen. Enjoy.
So today's guest is a very good one here, and I know that this article and these rankings mean a lot to all of us. So today's guest is a deputy managing editor for Golf Digest, which, if you don't know, he oversees the 100 Greatest Course panel. Also is the host of his own podcast called The Loop. Today's guest is Stephen Hennessey. Steve, thanks so much for coming on today's show.
Yeah, Mike, Ryan, thanks so much for having me. Being a little under the weather, I'm just pumped to join a couple Jersey guys talking about some Jersey golf. So no, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Love it.
Yeah. Listen, let me start real quick because this getting you on the show today was maybe about 2 weeks ago. Ryan, we were talking about the list and everybody, because obviously we think everybody lives and dies by that list, and I think truly they do, especially when it comes to your state, and they're always kind of talking about it, who writes it, how does it all happen? So Ryan, I said to Ryan, I said, part of my job in the podcast is to get the guests figured out, like more or less. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to figure the damn thing out. So he gives me your name, and I said, okay, I'm going to just start going after this and figure it out. Thankfully, you're one of the nicer and easier guys that responded right away, that said yes right away. It didn't take me 3 months behind the scenes to get a response.
I mean, I'm also like not a celebrity. You guys have had, Jim Nance, Stuart Hagestad. Like, I'm just, a lowly editor and a Jersey guy. Like,
but you're not. No. You got the list. You got the list. And that list carries a lot of weight here in New Jersey. A lot of weight. So let's get into this list, because I think the list is something that everybody wonders. How are certain spots on it? How are certain spots not on it? Ryan and I want to know, how do we get on the panel? Like, there's a lot of questions that we got to dive into here.
There you go. I mean, so to start with, and I'll go full circle, jump in whenever you got a question, but how it all works is we have about 1,900 course raters around the country and Canada who evaluate courses for us. So the nice thing is it has nothing to do with what I think about the golf courses. It removes Golf Digest completely. It's really by the people and for the people, which is nice when I go and play some of these places, because I disagree with our rankings in some places. So it removes me a bit from the conversation, but it's also nice to be such a democratic process. And I enjoy that about our rankings and think that makes them the best in the business. And then
I don't think anybody knows that. I had no idea.
Okay.
I because your name, you and it's Derek, right? Derek Duncan is the other guy that wrote the article. I think that people look at that list and they go, these two schmoes don't know what the hell they're talking about. How could they put this course here? So it's really interesting to hear you say right away that it's a democracy on just who's putting it in. That's mind blowing to me right off the bat.
I think you're right. That's probably a very common thing I get is, it's not just a couple editors, smoking cigarettes in a room and like coming up, throwing darts at a board. Like, this place, had the best lunch and they wine and dine me, so they're going to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Like, very far away from that. That's how it worked probably in like the 70s and 80s, no doubt. But no, I mean, it's all the data. And I like to hide behind the data because it's so true. We have nothing to do with manipulating anything. It's just the averages of all of our panelists. So that's the nice thing.
Okay. And how many panelists are doing New Jersey specifically? You said there's 1,900 throughout the country and Canada. How many, do you have a number on how many are doing New Jersey specifically?
Yeah, so we have about probably 50 or so New Jersey panelists, and it's not just the Jersey folks who evaluate Jersey courses. It's based on, if you're a California person and you're traveling to the area, you can make your own schedule and reach out to the Jersey courses. So it's not necessarily regional, but there are 50 New Jersey panelists.
Gotcha.
But there's probably about 200 to 300 people who have evaluated New Jersey courses.
Interesting. Okay, and is this organization of these panelists, are they hired by Golf Digest, or is it like an independent company that Golf Digest uses their intel or their
Yeah, it's and these folks are all like paid volunteers pretty much. So there's an application process you go through. We accept new panelists once a year, but it's managed by Golf Digest. That's one of my main responsibilities is working with the courses themselves. If they have any issues, we have some strict policies that if any of our panelists mess up, then they're kind of out. It's one strike and you're out. But yeah, we kind of vet them up front and we manage them throughout the process, and they make their own schedules. So it's not as if we're assigning them to specific courses. It's based on wherever they're going. And they pay to be a part of it. That's also like everything's out in the open with us. This used to be a free thing, but about 6 years ago, we started charging people $300 a year, which is, we believe, a pretty nominal fee. If you're going to a nice private club, you would pay about that in an unaccompanied guest fee, not to mention what you pay, your caddy, et cetera, and so forth. And so, we felt if anyone was going to scoff at that fee, they're also the person who's not going to tip well at a facility and not, treat us and represent us well while they're out there. So it's actually been a good thing. But yeah, these people are paid volunteers really, because it kind of is a good gig. So I don't blame them for wanting to do it.
I'll tell you what, you can tell Mike and I once we're done with this how we put in our applications, because I'd be all into that.
Yeah, no, it's the golden ticket in a way. So yeah, we'll discuss that offline.
Do these raters have to rate X amount of courses a year, or do they have to go to, like, all 50 of those New Jersey Raiders, do they all have to go play Pine Valley, Baltusrol, Plainfield, Bayonne? Like, is there a rotation that they must go play, or can you just go play one and you're done? Like, what's the parameters along there?
Yeah, the minimums are more broadly, not state by state wide. So they have to evaluate 15 courses every 2 years. We tell them that they should be playing most of the courses on on their state's candidate list. So, in New Jersey, for instance, we do a top 25. There's probably about 50 or so what we call candidate courses. So those that are eligible for best in state. So we tell each person, hey, you should be playing pretty much every course that you can in your state, because you should have the most pride in the ranking by your state. But, there's no requirement necessarily if I'm a Jersey person to go play 30 Jersey courses a year. It's more so 15 courses every 2 years, in total. So.
And you just said something that was interesting. The candidate list. So New Jersey's got 50 candidates. What does a course need to have to be on that candidate list?
Basically, we want to make sure that it's worth a club's time and resources to be a candidate. So they're going to host all these panelists coming out, and their head pro is going to devote a lot of time to setting them up on the tee sheet. He's going to arrange for them to play with a member or have a member of his pro staff play with them. probably offer some sort of reduced green fee. It's a lot of time and energy to host these folks. So if a club is not really going to be, competitive for our best in state, we're not going to list them, because otherwise, if they have no chance to make it, it's just kind of wasting the club's time. So that candidate list has just evolved throughout the years. There's no, one answer on why a course is or isn't a candidate. We often will revise that and add courses who have undergone renovations. If there's a buzz in a state of a specific course that just, had a lot of work done and people are saying, why is it not a candidate? Well, then we'll just add it. There's no, it's not really a scientific thing. Just based on, what people are talking about in that state, then we'll either add a course, or if people are saying, why is this course a candidate? It's clearly not even in the conversation of being in the top 50 in the state anymore, we'll remove it. So it's evolving month to month, year to year.
Okay, so there's no actual criteria that a club must be, par 70, 71, 72, something like that, X amount of yards, X amount of members. Okay. Yeah, interesting.
I'm gonna pitch a course right now that needs to be on the top 25 list.
Love it.
Like, I mean, I go through that list, and again, this is bias from me. I get the whole thing,
sure.
But like Manasquan River not being in the top 25, like, I hate to say this, but like, that's a damn shame. The fact that like Forsgate I see is on there, I'm just like, I sit there and I'm like, all right, maybe these guys haven't played it. Maybe they haven't played it. Like,
well, that's
maybe
it. Yeah.
Maybe they played it at the wrong time. Like, I don't know, but I go through this list and I see Canoe Brook 25. I'm like, not close. Forsgate 24, not close. Like, I just go up at Hackensack. Like, I'm not saying these are bad spots. Yeah, I'm not saying they're bad spots, and that's not what my intention here is with any of it. But there are certain things about places I get that people like, but to me, like, I'm advocating hard for that spot. I don't know, like, get me a panel, get me an application, let me start filling the damn thing out.
Mike would just like to go in front of somebody to talk to them about it.
I'll convince somebody.
I completely agree. So I played Manasquan River for the first time this year, and Chris was nice enough to have me out because he's buddies with the pro at Watchung Valley, where I'm a member. So, after I was done playing, I was like, Chris, this isn't even a candidate course on our list. Like, do you have any idea why that is? Because to me, this is one of the 25 best courses in New Jersey, and I've played 23 of the top 25. So I feel like I have a pretty good handle. And he's like, you know what, throughout the years, we've kind of not wanted the attention, but that's changing after the Andrew Green renovation. And so, like, let's talk about doing that. And so a few months ago, we went ahead and added it as a candidate course. And now only 4 people have played it since we added it as a candidate, and you need 30 people to play it to be eligible. Yeah, that's over a 10-year period. So, Manasquan River next year will need 26 panelists, which might be tough, but, not out of the question. There's a lot of New York, Philly, New Jersey guys, it shouldn't be that tough. But, if it doesn't make it next time, that 30 number, then, the next cycle, seemingly it would be eligible. So yeah, I mean, that's one I completely agree with you. And I think it's just a matter of, the club and the membership didn't really want the attention, and now they sort of do. And those things change and evolve, as you guys know, from month to month, year to year, the way greens committees are. So yeah, again, it's just sort of a one-off situation at every club, and that's the deal with Swan River.
Yeah, I mean, and that's good to know, because I didn't know that the course A needed to be played that much, and then B, they need to want to be in the mix. Yeah. So to me, like, that, from the outside, when I see it, I'll be very honest, I'm very opinionated, and I'm like sitting there saying, what the hell is going on here?
I know.
And now that you educate me, I'm able to step back and probably apologize to some people that now I know why it's not on the list. But
yes,
Mike's been keeping receipts, thinking he's gonna get back, and now he's like, I need to apologize to those receipts.
I do. Listen, I can own up to when I fuck up. I have no problem saying I made a mistake here, because, again, I think that's why getting someone like you on the podcast to kind of explain the process helps people understand it more, because if the
Totally.
golf course doesn't back it, then it's not getting on the list, regardless of my personal opinion of the spot.
Yeah,
So,
it's just education, really. The more that we could do from Golf Digest to educate people, the less Mike's bad mouthing our lists out there they'll
yeah,
be.
I mean, but again, Ryan and I have this conversation all the time about the list, the list, the list. It is subjective to some aspect, because we all have differences of opinions. Like, I was fortunate to play Pine Valley this August, and I don't know how anybody could leave that spot and say one negative thing about it. So, like,
Correct.
or how can it be number one every single year? Well, guess what? It will be number
will
one
be.
every single damn year.
Yes.
And if it's not, like, then I'll call you up and say, I don't know what the
Yes,
hell you guys are doing
you
over there,
should.
because that needs to be number one. But, like, I guess, 2 to 25, it could, in theory, be anybody. Like, how close are they, 2, 3, 4, 5, in terms of, like, ratings?
Yeah, they're very close. That's another thing people probably don't realize. So, to get into a little of how the scoring actually works, there are.
This is the next question I was going to ask you. Sorry to cut you off, Steve.
Sure.
I was going to ask you, what is on the criteria? How does the scoring work? Totally. Let me. I'm super interested in this.
Yeah. So, to try to remove some of that subjectivity, because you're right, Mike, like, it's pretty tough to remove your own biases out of the equation, but that's what our list aims to do. Some of the other publications like Golf Magazine, they just have their raters go down 1 to 100 and rate the courses based on whatever sort of definition that they have. Which is one way to do it. I'm not saying that's like a bad way, but we would rather it be as objective as possible. So there are 6 or 7 really pieces of criteria, and every panelist rates the course 1 to 10 in those categories. So from shot options to challenge to layout variety, etc. And we have a formula. So shot options is multiplied by 2, same with layout variety. And, we just come up with a mean score at the end based on just averaging out all those raters, evaluating every course in those categories. And at the end of the day, it just spits out an Excel sheet with the list for that year. So it is very competitive. I mean, I could pull it up while we're talking, but I would imagine the difference between number 2, Baltusrol lower, and Plainfield at whatever Plainfield is, 6 or 5. It's probably about like a point or a point and a half, and that's across 7 different definitions. That's across almost 1,000 evaluations. So it's really close. We have a number assigned to those courses, 1 through 5 or 1 through 6, but it's pretty damn close. And you can make a case for any of those courses being number 2 in New Jersey, because I agree with you, Mike. Pine Valley's the number 1, will always be. But after that, I could totally see someone's opinion on why Balti Upper should be right there, number 2. I personally think Somerset should be number 2. We have Baltusrol Lower ranked number 2. So, it creates this conversation. The nice thing is we have scoring to back it up. And yeah, it is very close though at the end of the day.
So we've always said that nobody's breaking into the top 6 in New Jersey. Like some course that's like an example would be like a Union League,
That'll be interesting.
New to the rating, but how does it jump into that top 4, 5, 6? Like those courses are tried, true, historically. Even the PGA is saying these are the top courses because we're posting events on there, right? So a course like Union League, there's a ceiling for it in the rankings somewhere, and that's interesting that you say that's probably a point difference between 2 and 6. They're all just kind of clumped up there because they are the best in the state, and they're not going to they're going to move within each other. They're not necessarily moving in or out,
They are all great courses. The difference between that level of greatness is pretty minimal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. Where Union League National ends up is really interesting to me. I got to play that 2 or 3 years ago, and I walked out of there saying this might be a top 200 course in the country, and I think it might be. We just need enough people to see it, and looking at their scoring from last time, yeah, it's probably like almost a full point away from making our second 100 greatest, but not to say that once another 60 people have seen it, maybe that average does go up and maybe it will make top 200 next time. That's the fun part about our rankings. It's tough to predict in that regard. It's just a matter of people getting to see it.
Yeah.
I think Union League could get to 7. I think that's as high as Union League can get to, because I think from 7 down, to Ryan's point, I think that's when it becomes like, all right, we can start mixing and matching these, and you really can't go wrong after that, because I think the top 6 just has the history. It has the aura, not to the Pine Valley level, but to the traditionalist. Like, I think 7, like where Galloway is, has there ever been a thought about putting the actual score next to the ranking so people have an idea, like, oh, Pine Valley got a score of 100, let's say, and number 2, it's like 94.3, and then the next one is 94. So people have an idea, like, it is pretty damn close.
Well, the other one,
we do
the
that
other one you said does it. Oh, yeah.
For the top 200 at least. But that's actually a good call on the best in state stuff. We probably should do that just so we could kind of, again, educate people. This is really close.
Yeah, because I think that's kind of like, I'd be dying to know, in a sense, like, I see Galloway 7, and like, I don't know, like Liberty National, when we walk the golf course there, I'm like, God, I'm dying to know like how close 7 and 10 are to then all the way to the bottom. Like, then where does 25 rank? Are they able to jump up higher? Like, things like that. Because, I'm always, I'm a data nerd, and I like numbers, and I like looking at all those types of things. So to me, like, when you just see a number like, oh, this is 17 and that's 16, but if you really knew the difference was like 0.01, you'd be like, all right, so listen, it's pretty
super
damn close.
Yeah, that's a good call, and that's what it is, because I'm looking at it now. Mountain Ridge is within a full point of Galloway, and what was Mountain Ridge last time? Like 12.
Galloway 7.
So,
I'm looking at the list now.
Mountain Ridge is 12 right now.
Yeah, and Mountain Ridge was really close to making our top 200. We published like the next 25 a couple weeks ago, and Mountain Ridge was like number 220. So it was really close to making that top 200, and yeah, really close to being the 7th best course in Jersey too.
That's crazy. So like when we've had people on, they've talked about Mountain Ridge as being like, that place is as good as golf gets. Like, it is expected. We've had a number of guests say, like, because we always ask them, like, what's one public, one private you want to play, and they're like, Mountain Ridge is a must play. So it's super interesting.
It's in my personal top 3 favorite in New Jersey. Like I said, my opinions are different than our panels. So my top 3 favorite in New Jersey would be Somerset, Hollywood, and Mountain Ridge. I think those places, like, I would gladly play them every day. That's my definition of favorite. That's not what our panel's definition is. So that's like the difference. And if you were to tell me to rate the courses like best from worst, I would probably also have a different ranking. But, just saying like my favorite, those would be my top 3. Again, I'm a little biased based on my style of architecture that I like. I'm more of an old style type of guy. So, to me, those 3 are as good as it gets in Jersey.
And every July, this list comes out. Is that how this process works? Like,
every 2 years. So, the time of year fluctuates, but it's based on every 2 years. So
like, this came out July of this year, correct?
Yes. So then correct. The
so now
next
we're
one
gonna
will
wait
be
25.
Correct. Yeah.
Damn, that's a long time for me. I don't know if I'll be alive. I don't know if I'll be alive in 2 years. Now I gotta wait 2 years to see this top 25 list.
We make the people wait for it. It's it does create a lot of anticipation. I think when these rankings come out, people are anxious, especially our course raters. They think they could anticipate the day that it's coming out. So if a day goes by and it doesn't come out, they'll text or email me like, "Hey, where's the ranking?" Like, all right, you got to hold tight a little bit. We had a little change in the production schedule, so it's fun. It's like the day that the March Madness bracket comes out. It's a big day for anyone who cares about course design.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, because I think a lot of people live and die by it to some extent. Like as people here in New Jersey and we care about our golf courses, you're always curious to see where, on a competitive side, where you rank to other spots. But I think that process is really, really neat.
It really is. I did not. I'm shocked for a number of reasons. I'm shocked because I was hard fast that like Stephen goes and plays 30 rounds of golf at these top 30 courses in New Jersey, and then he ranks them himself. Him and Derek are like a duo. I was hard set that that's what happens, and ready to absolutely blitz you with questions on why you did this. But now knowing the process, it's really interesting. So can we ask you? Are you allowed to give us your rankings? Like what would or like some things that you have issues with on the courses that you've played? Because I think we could go through and look at some we kind of already talked about. Like again, I've never played Baltusrol lower. I've only played 9 at Baltusrol upper, and there's a bunch that I haven't played up at the top. But like if Union League's not like I liked Union League better than I liked Galloway. And it's, again, not to knock Galloway, but like I think Union League is that good. So can you give us some of your insights onto here? Like what are some things that you would be like, I like this one better, or I don't think this ranking's right? Like talk to us about that, if you can.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can. I just have to caveat it. And, if any of my bosses or course raters are listening to this, like, don't let my opinions influence you. These are just my opinions, and they really don't matter in regards to the rankings.
Stephen, legitimately, like I don't want to get you in trouble. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I'm just legitimately curious as to like, as the guy who wrote the article and now knowing the whole process. So you're a fan of this just like anybody else. You're just taking the data and just simply putting it into an article for us to read. So what are your thoughts on it as well as a New Jersey golfer?
Totally. No, I won't get in any trouble. I've been vocal with our 100 greatest that like Sleepy Hollow is 63rd or something. And I just think that's sort of criminal. I think it should be in the top 30 or 40 easily. So I've voiced that opinion for, over a year now and haven't gotten fired. So it must be totally fine. I mean, we talked about Mountain Ridge. That's in my top 3 favorites in New Jersey. That place just keeps getting better and better. I think that should definitely be in the top 10, probably the top 8 or so. So that's one of them. I think one that I played this year, I don't know if you guys have seen it recently, but North Jersey Country Club, after all the renovation work.
That's where I was going next.
Incredible.
That place, as the kids would say, that place slaps. It is incredible. Told you, Mike.
That's Ryan's favorite spot. It's hard to argue because we were invited up to Crystal Springs this year to play some of their golf courses, to talk about their spot in specific. And I had set up a day for us to go over in the morning to North Jersey Country Club to sit down with Brian Mackey and James Sirico. And I said to Ryan, I'm like, you're going to love this spot. Like, I just know it. And he said, all right. Like, we get up there, and I knew once he walked on the grounds, I'm like, this dude's going to fall in love. He was smitten. And to this day, I think we were there mid-July. I don't know if it doesn't come out of his mouth anytime someone talks golfing in New Jersey. So
I'm telling you, I'll talk to strangers about North Jersey. Like I'll just be like, I'll see a guy at the bar and he's wearing like he'll wear a hat from his club, or oh, that's a nice place. You ever played North Jersey? I'm telling you, I absolutely love that place. And to your point, I think it's criminal that that's not on the list. But that said, now knowing that it's a 2-year process, it probably doesn't have the ratings enough ratings, especially with the new redo. So I get it now. Now I understand.
Exactly. It's the same thing. Yeah, they just got added this year as a candidate after all the Brian Schneider work was done. So, hopefully in 2 years we get enough people to see it. And yeah, I think it's absolutely one of the 25 best courses in New Jersey now after all that work.
I'll play it 30 times. Next summer, I'll go play it 30 times, and I'll get it 30 ratings for it.
It's the type of place you wouldn't mind playing
Not at all.
50 times a year. That's for sure. I would say another one was Morris County. I love Morris County. I'm a Seth Rayner stan, so I love that. And they're doing a lot of work too, upcoming. Jaeger Kovic, who has done some work for Gil Hanse and did some work at Knickerbocker Country Club, where I've played a lot of golf. He's doing some improvements there, so that should be good. That's like 22nd or 23rd on our ranking. I could see it being in the top 20. Trying to think. You mentioned Hackensack before, Mike. I love Hackensack. Again, Charles Banks, really good, all updated. Arcola is really good. That's like as tough as a golf course as you could get, while still, there's some playability there for the hacker. So while you're getting punched in the face, it's not unfair, although the greens can run at about 14. So you could get some putts that maybe are borderline there.
They were running at a 37 when we played there.
Yeah.
Man, it is.
I like to think I can golf. I shot 89 that day.
Yeah.
I like to think I can golf.
I literally Mike says that he's legitimately a 2 handicap. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I got punched in the face, beat up, kicked, stomped on, and I was like, "This is ridiculous. I can't." It was so hard. The greens were fast.
There's a reason it hosted the USAM, right? I mean, it's really hard.
I totally can see that. I mean, I know Essex County is also getting some work done to it too. Gil Hanse is coming in there, so I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I know they're sitting at 13, which is still very high. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a place like even that, after the renovation he does, sneaks into the top 10. To be honest with you,
that's again one of my favorites in Jersey. Definitely top 10. I got to see what their plans are for that first hole, which is a very lackluster first hole. So they're kind of moving that old caddy shed and then gonna have this like big expanse of like a 50-yard waste area, all sand, and kind of separating the fairway and then the run up to the green. It's gonna be this more interesting first hole. It'll still, dogleg left similar in nature, but really enhanced, I think. And I agree, Tillinghast and Banks greens. So some really fun golf there. So that was one of Gil Hanse's first renovation projects, and now he's getting to go back, and he did that work really before he was Gil Hanse. So it'll be interesting to see.
Wow.
I've been in contact with a lot of people over to Essex County, and they're like more than happy to host us and have us come play. And I think what we both decided is that let's wait until Gil's work finishes, so that we can then really highlight that place specifically, because we're dying to play there too. I hear so many great things about that spot, and obviously with the podcast, just having different doors open up and connecting with so many different people. That one thing with the podcast, it just reaches everybody, and people are learning after a little over a year for us that like we're not just looking for free golf. We're looking to talk, play, experience everything, and then just kind of highlight everything here in New Jersey. And that's kind of how the doors to Essex County opened up, because really for two guys like us, that door is never going to ever be extended. So anything that we can do, and I had heard that, and I'm dying to see what that renovation ends up looking like.
Yeah. I think if Ryan really liked North Jersey Country Club, he's really going to like Essex County. So pumped to hear what he says about that one.
But I'm in the same boat. Like I love North Jersey. I'm a huge fan of Hollywood. I love that, like, that style is my style. And so it totally is.
I'm kind of surprised. If you ask me, like, when I looked at the top 25, I can understand probably every single one. And even like if I want to like nitpick, maybe I would argue against like Forsgate in a sense. I'm just not the biggest fan of that spot. But the one spot to me that I think is really high is the Ridge at Backbrook. Like, I've played the Ridge multiple times. Like, it's cool. It's a nice spot. It's a challenging golf course. But to me, if you ask me, like, in a sense, an overrated one, like, to me, that's not 14. Like, I truly think that Arcola is way better than that. I think Union League is way better than that. Like, I think Matitaconk is way better than that. Like, I can probably go on the list all the way down. What draws people to the Ridge?
I think that it's pretty challenging. So that checks off one of those categories. If you're out of the fairway there, and I got to play it for the first time this year, and sort of had that same opinion that you did, Mike, going into it. Like, this is really high. And it's Fazio, so people love to talk shit on Tom Fazio these days. Let's see if it could back it up. And, I think there's some pretty unique holes there. I don't know that I think it's as challenging as, an Arcola or other courses. It's probably in the top 10 in terms of challenging. I think if you look at the shot options and, try to remove the bias out of it, Fazio does a great job at that. He does a great job of challenging the better player while giving, the higher handicapper an option to run the ball up on the green, some width off the tee. He does do a good job at that. And, there's some unique holes there. This is the par 5, the seventh with the split fairway.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. That par 3 after the 8th is very unique. Could you say it's overrated? I could absolutely see that case. So yeah, I mean, again, that's the beauty of our rankings. Everyone has an opinion. Two that I think are overrated on our list: the Trump one in Philly, the Pine Hill course. I don't quite think that's, top 20 or whatever it is. And then, Canoe I actually agree with you too. The greens are probably more interesting than you think when you're on them, but I think just off the tee, it's not as stimulating as some of the other courses that don't make the list. So, I get those opinions for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Mike
listen,
Mike loves that 8th hole at the Ridge.
Yeah, I made a hole in one there.
Oh, did you really? Wow.
Yeah.
What a good hole to have an ace. Damn.
I know.
Look behind him. You see the
listen,
ball.
but
Oh wait, no, he doesn't
I
have
don't
it.
even know where I don't even know where the golf ball is. But I do think, like, again, you could probably nitpick at a lot of the things in terms of, like, I like this one, not like it, and I do agree with you. I'm not the biggest fan of the Trump one in Southwest Jersey. Like, to me, it's just kind of like blah. Another one I think that we could sit here and say other spots are better than that aren't even ranked. But yeah, I felt like I just got educated there.
Yeah,
Right?
seriously, I had so many of the questions I had, Stephen, were literally to ask you, like, how dare you put this course on and not this course? But now knowing the system, I like there's you don't need to. I like the one thing I would say about the Ridge, kind of going back to that. I think the Ridge has wow factor when you first get there because I think it's a very unique course. There's not many courses that use the rocks like they do in the state. There's not many that have like an antler chandelier when you walk into the clubhouse. So I think it's a super unique experience, and that could, I don't want to say blur the golf course, but like,
No,
I think that might help the golf course. It's like, oh, this golf course is nice, and then we have these other things too, and you're having a good day. You like a lot of stuff there. But Mike's played it. I loved it there. I've only played it once though. Mike's played it a few times, and he thinks that rating's a little overrated. So I think that might be the case. Yeah.
It's a great point because most of our panelists will only play a course once, the one round that they get there. So, if you're making a great first impression like the Ridge does, and I think you're right, Ryan, it does, that's going to help it. Whereas, if you're Mike and you've played it 5 times, you could kind of get over that wow factor. That's going to help, arrive at probably a better ranking and a better understanding of that property. So, yeah, that, if you could critique something about our rankings, it's that our panelists usually only play it once and, could create a situation like this one.
Yeah, I'm very interested by everything that you've said here. Is there Is there what's the one course on this list that you've played that's not on here that you're just like that's the one that needs to be?
Man, that's a good question. I love Montclair Golf Club. So they just got a recent renovation again by Brian Schneider. He's hot in Jersey right now. I got to play that last year, and yeah, I think again it's a matter of people seeing that place. I think it could absolutely be top 25. Really good Ross greens. They have a Banks 9. They have the Ross 9. I think they might have 18 of Ross. Really good and great tradition there. Yogi Berra played all of his golf there. I'm a big Yankees fan, so that's my bias right there. And when I was warming up on the range, Yogi's sons were on the range next to me, and
That's cool.
I could hear the Yogiisms flying from them. So it's like it's like a sense of place in Jersey. You're at Montclair Golf Club, really cool. Yeah, I'm also biased. I think Watchung Valley, where I play a lot of my golf, could absolutely be in the top 25 in Jersey. It's just, again, a matter of people seeing that. We talked about Manasquan River already. I think Spring Lake Golf Club too. I've gotten to play that 3 or 4 times the last few years. I think that's really good. What a great routing on a small kind of flattish piece of property.
Yeah.
Using the natural landforms there. And George Thomas in New Jersey, you're gonna get my attention right away with Tillinghast. So those are some ones that I would like to see make that top 25 or top 30 in Jersey over time.
Yeah. Spring Lake is really good.
But listen, Steve, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. I mean, I know Ryan and I could probably continue to grill you with questions and waste your whole Sunday afternoon. But thanks so much for coming on, especially on such short notice and over the Thanksgiving Day weekend. I know everybody's got things going on and juggling this and that. But we'll call this like your Jordan flu game. You overcame, you battled through, and you nailed it.
Well, the fact that you guys said I had really interesting things to say, I would love if my wife got to hear that, because I'll talk for a second about the course that I played when I got home from around, and eyes glazed over. I can't tell her one thing about anything. So no, it was fun to chat about golf course with you guys, and I'm sure we'll do it again when our new New Jersey ranking come out. So
100%. Hopefully, we'll be able to see you before that. Let's tee it up sometime.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, I'm not too far away from you guys, so that'd be fun.
That'd be great. Yeah. Thanks again, Steve. This was
awesome.
Again, I blitzed you with a ton of questions, and the ranking system is super interesting to me, so I kind of geek out over it. So thank you for jumping on. This was awesome.
No, yeah, I'm happy to talk about that shit. It's it's what I think about every day. So it didn't feel like a blitzing at all. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, pal. Thank you very much.
We'll definitely play some golf next year.
Would love that.
All right.
Hey,
see you guys.
Take
Have
care.
a good one.
Feel better.
See you, pal.
You too. Later.
Name a better feeling than buying something you can take and wear anywhere. Money spent on quality products is money well spent. Even more so when you can rock that purchase just about anywhere. Why would you spend a fortune on clothes you'll only wear to the course when you could buy gear that's just as nice at home, at a holiday party, or work event, yet comfy enough it doubles as loungewear? Obviously, we'd all love to be playing 36 holes every weekend of the year, but just because you have to sneak in a quick 9 before work doesn't mean you need to change your clothes. And as winter closes in, check out their new festive hoodies and beanies to fight off the chill at www.swannies.co and use code THEDROP25 for 25% off. Swannies is your go-to from work to golf and everything in between.